Hello guys. Um, Here for my list I told you I was going to do. I usually try to keep my promises. And that is going to be soldering. Now the few things I always like to have with me is, of course, you're going to be soldering whatever lead or whatever you want. Today I'm just going to be soldering two pieces of wire together. You're going to want your flathead screwdriver, your wire cutters, some solder. I have a few different choices here, and I'll explain each one. You're going to want your soldering iron, and you're also going to want, if I can get it, where is it? A little bit of steel wool. It doesn't have to be a whole piece. A little bit of rust because, water. But besides that, this will be good enough. And let's get into it. So, the first thing that people want to know is what type of solder do you use. Now, for the electronics you use, you're always going to want to use rosin core silver solder, as you can see there. I have a few different types. This one cost me about $5 at my hobby shop. This one cost me $1 from Walmart. And this one, I have no clue what the cost is, but from the inside, it is a much thicker diameter wire. I know this is a lot more expensive because when I've worked at hardware stores before, they are pretty expensive. But I'm going to show you the differences between all of them. Let's first start off with basically what you're going to want to do. So you're going to take your wire, lead, plug, whatever, and you want to, if I'm just doing this, soldering this together, so you want to take your nippers and cut in half right there. As you can see, we've cut that. Next, you're going to want to strip just a little bit off. Let me turn my camera back on. I'm going to strip just a little bit off. I can. Now, any wire strippers will do. I have these ones right here. They're Klein tools. I really like Klein tools. I'm not sponsored by them in any way, but I find their products to be really good. I've used these ones for about 1.5 years now. But you can usually find these at Harbor Freight, these type right here. This one's made by Craftsman. You probably can find a Pittsburgh tool one. But you can also strip the wire with this. It's a little bit more difficult and it's a lot larger, but it will do. Take a break there. I had to get some lighting. I noticed it was a little dark. It might be over whitened, but we'll just have to test it for this video. So like I was saying, some good cutters. I've already spliced that end right there. You're going to want to splice this end right here. So I'll do that real quick. Okay, so now that you have that spliced, this is optional. You do not have to use this. I picked this up at Harbor Freight. It was like $3.99 or something like that. They call it a helping hands tool. I find it really convenient, especially when you're wiring up like Traxxas plugs. You can have one end holding your plug and the other end holding the wire. But so all you're going to want to do is put your wire into one end of the alligator clip and the other into this end. And you really want to open up the wire right there on both ends so you get more contact area. In my opinion, I find it a lot better. It's also stronger too. So now you want to close that back down. So you can see that I have it closed right there. Now, the wire you want to use is silicone wire. That's the wire. If you ever use silicone for like a door frame or anything, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it's more of a rubbery type wire. This is automotive wire. It is not the same. So this most likely around the ends will start melting. It is not something that you want to use if you're doing a build that takes a lot of power through. If you're using a 3/4S LiPo, I've used the N2S. I really don't like to. So if you go to your hobby shop, they should have some silver silicone wire. Okay, so the next step that you're going to want to do is get your soldering gun ready. I have a Weller Let me turn that around for you guys. Weller right there. This is an older model. I found this one at a garage sale for, I paid $1 for it. I thought that was a really good deal, and I do really like it. So, you want to get that heated up. The main thing people always mess up is they try to apply it to the wire right away. You don't want to do that. You want to always clean it, and you want to tin it first. Now, the reason for the tinning is because when you solder a piece, if you do not tin it, most of the time, it'll come out in a, almost like a matte. You want your solder to be shiny at the end. So to tell if your soldering gun's heated up to the correct temperature is just, yep, you see that smoke that comes off right there? Let me get that more in frame. Just touch it, and that smoke comes off. That means your soldering gun's heated up. But you want to take your steel wool and just rub it on there. You want to, basically there's like some black coating where your old solder was, and you just want to get that all off. You don't want to hold it on there because you don't want to burn the steel wool. Just enough to scrape it. So let's record this scene one more time. My last soldering gun, my last soldering piece, actually it broke into two because over time I guess it heats up at a certain point. But I am heating this new piece up. I have to clean it off because it's fairly bad. So just give me 1 second. Once again, this steel wool does get all the stuff off, all the black, like soot almost. So let's try recording this one more time. As you can see, the Walmart solder, oh, is it hot enough yet? Oh, there it goes. Wait, where is it? The Walmart solder almost like dissipates off. It's really weird. But if you get the $5 solder, it's hard to see on camera, but it does not use as much. And then finally, the more expensive solder that you'll find at any hardware store. Pull that out. Takes a lot longer. It's also a larger bead of it that you're gonna get. But yeah. So once you have this heated up, you're gonna want to take your solder. I'm gonna use the Walmart solder just to prove that you can use it. It's just not the best. So you want to put your soldering gun right on the underside. Once you do that, you'll see a little bit of smoke coming out. You just want to, first you want to pre-tin. I almost forgot that part. Oh, it's not hanging on. It seems as if my soldering gun has too much soot on it, so you just want to take your Dremel if you have it nearby, clean her up a bit. That is done there. Sorry about this, folks. Should have planned that ahead, but you know what? The video goes how the video goes. That's better. So now you want to put that on the underside right there. You just want to slowly work your way up. If I can even get some to start. I want to heat it up a little bit. You just want to put it in there. And then you pull out some more solder. Since this Walmart solder is fairly cheap, you go through it fairly fast. You just want to keep on touching. And when you're doing this, you don't want to touch a new piece of solder. Not new piece of wire. Like, touching that copper wire won't melt it. You want to find where you already got solder, and you want to work off of there. If mine will even work. Just fill her in there. You want to get a really good coating of solder on there. So now that is done, you will see some smoke come off. So you want to put your soldering gun to the side where you will not burn any plastic or anything like that. away from paper, anything flammable really. So if I bring this over here, let me try my camera so I can see exactly. So you see right there, that's all the solder, and it's basically filled up that whole wire. You might not be able to tell in the camera because I don't have that don't have that really expensive camera, but there is some distortion to this plastic wrap right here, which it isn't really a big deal because once you take off your alligator clips, you want to take just a normal piece of solder. Not solder. I can't speak today, folks. I'm sorry. You want to take a normal piece of heat shrink tubing, cut it to the approximately length you need. Make sure you go a little bit longer because it does shrink up to, I believe, half its size. You want to put this on there. Once you get that on there, you can use a lighter, or you can. I don't have one with me right now. I actually need to get some more for this. And you just want to take your gun. You just want to heat that up a little bit, and it will very slowly start shrinking. So if we get that real quick. Now this heat shrink tubing is a little bit too large for it, but it doesn't. I just meant to hold the connection together, really and truly. As long as you cover that soldered part, you should be fine. Now this is me doing it. I'm not saying I'm a professional solderer. As you can see, I'm not that professional at it. I do it. It works for me. If you want more of to see how to solder, there's a YouTuber called Peter Sripel. He used to be on the flight test team. I don't know what happened there. I think he left, and he now has his own YouTube channel. He creates really cool videos. Just give him a quick shout out there. And he knows how to solder really well. He's been on flight test for a long time, and he just decided to make his own channel. So if you want to learn more in depth how to solder, this is a basic overview of it. But yeah, that's it. And as you can see, if I'm pulling as hard as I can right now, I cannot pull any harder. It works. So now you can put any leads on there, and that's it. So I'll see you guys next time on RC Trail Runners every Tuesday. Peace.